What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream from Scalar Learning. And today, as it is Wednesday, we are tackling ISEE math. If you're not familiar with the ISEE, it is the Independent School Entrance Exam. It is in the middle level, which is a test taken across the country, across the world, really. I think there's about 2,000 member schools, and it's a test you have to take to get into certain private schools, in this case, 7th or 8th grade. And a lot of kids have to take this in Los Angeles and New York as well, I believe, to get into some of the best private schools in the country. So now we're going to be doing a quantitative reasoning section. So again, there's 4 sections, 2 math sections and 2 English sections, 1 reading, 1 vocabulary based. And we are going to be doing a quantitative reasoning section timed from ISEEPracticeTest.com, which is, in my opinion, the best resource for amazing practice problems. And I am making these so that you can use this incredible resource, purchase this incredible resource, and then watch these video explanations to watch me solve them in an efficient and effective manner, actually doing the math. And a big thing is a lot of test prep companies talk about the strategies working around the test. Look, there are certain strategies that you can learn, but at the end of the day, it is a math test. You need to learn the math. And then there's strategies embedded within the math and within the test format that you can take advantage of, but you really got to learn the math. And that's my philosophy, and it's worked for a lot of kids that have done really well and gotten into amazing schools in LA. So without further ado, here we go. And again, I'm taking it timed, and I'm taking it for real. No calculator, just like how a student would take it. And the idea is I want you to look at what I'm doing and look at the strategies that I'm advising in real time. I'm not telling you something that won't work if you had to break it down or lay it out or whatever. Like, yeah, sure, we could understand it in 5 minutes, but can we do it in 1 minute? I'm proving to you that what I'm preaching you can actually practice. So here we go. Let's start the online portion. We got 35 minutes to tackle 37 questions, so about a minute per question. Ready, set, and begin. Okay, the graph below shows the total number of soccer games played during 1 week. What is the mean number of games played? So in this case, I'm going to calculate all of them total. So Monday is 3. Oops, here we go. 3. Then Tuesday is 4. Wednesday is 2. Thursday is 5. Friday is 5. Saturday is 9. If I could, I'd write right on top of these, and then Saturday is 7. To calculate the mean, we add these up and divide by 7, because calculating the mean, we add stuff and then divide by the number of things there are. So this is all divided by 7. So 7, 9, 14, 19, 28, 35. So it's 35 over 7, which equals 5. Oops. Okay, next question. Mo bought 3 movies for $39 at this rate. So that means 39 for 3, which means 1 costs 13. At this rate, how much would it cost to buy 8 movies? Well, if each one costs $13, 8 times 13, that's 80 plus 24 is $104. So just a little mental math in that case goes a long way. Next, variable isolation, 12 minus 2f equals 6. Now here's a shortcut. We want to know 24 minus 4f. Guess what I can do? Instead of solving for f, which would be totally fine, I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 2. And distribute, and I get 24 minus 4f, which is what we're solving for anyways, equals 2 times 6 is 12. And there's our answer, right? We wanted to know what double that equation was, so I'm going to do it that way. Next, Kim recorded the number of days she had walked to work within 6-day period. The rest of the days she biked to work. If Kim walked, 25%, so that means she biked 75%, but out of a 60-day period. So we need to calculate 75% of 60. We think of this of word as just a synonym for multiply, and we take a percentage, we multiply by the decimal equivalent, which is 0.75 times 60, and 0.42, add it all up. And since we have 2 numbers to the right of the decimal comes here, and it's 45 days. Right? If Kim walked to work 25%, the rest she biked, yeah, just making sure I read it carefully. Next. Which is the best approximation of the value of the square root of 396? Look, as soon as we're thinking of a square root like this, we want to think of the closest square roots, perfect squares that we know around. And I know that 400 is a nice perfect square. That's 20 squared. And I believe 19 squared is like 361 or something. I don't even know it. But look, this is so close to 400. So if the square root of 400 is 20, square root of 396 is pretty close to 20. And these other ones are crazy. I mean, 100 squared is 10,000. 10 squared is 100. So it has to be 20. Next. The graph shows a relationship between number of hours. So this is a line of best fit. Between hours studied and number of missed questions on the exam, the more we study, the less questions we missed. Using the line of best fit, what is the mean number of questions missed by a student who studies 3 hours? Okay, so here's somebody who studies 3 hours between 2 and 4, and we go up, and boom, it's right here. It looks like it's 12. So 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Yeah, so I'm going to say 12. Oh, wait. Yeah, just making sure I'm reading that right. When they say mean, it's the average number of questions missed. Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not reading anything wrong. Yeah, 3, 12, done. Okay, next. Sharon measures length of a book using pencil, blah, blah, blah. So we got 2 different equations. Sharon measures a desk of the length of 20 pieces of string. How many pencils are needed to measure the same length? So let's use these equations. First, we got 4 pieces of string equals 3 books. So, but we said her thing is 20 pieces of string. So I want to know what 20 strings represents in books. Well, look, I can multiply this whole thing by 5. Watch this. Then I get 20 pieces of string equals 15 books. So now I know her desk is 15 books long, and now I want to know how many pencils that is. Well, I know 1 book equals 2 pencils, but I want to know how many 15 books are. So I don't want 1 book, I want 15 books. So I multiply this entire equation by 15. 15 books equals 30 pencils, and that's the length, 30. Next, and on time check, we're doing pretty good. 5 minutes gone so far. Okay, there are 50 marbles in a jar. 30% are green. How many marbles are not green? Well, first of all, I can say 70% of the 50. And remember, when I say 70% of something, that means multiply. And then also, let's convert it to its decimal equivalent. So I move the decimal twice like this, and I don't need that 0. It's the same as 0.7. And now let's multiply. 7 times 0 is 0, 7 times 5, 35. 1 number to the right of the decimal, move it over to the left 1 spot. 35. 70% of 50 is 35. Next. Melinda and Allison each walk away from a store. So we got a store. We got 1 person going this way, 1 person going this way. Melinda and Allison. If Melinda walks for 20 minutes and stops, and Allison walks for 25 minutes and walks 1,750 feet further. So here's 1,750, the excess, let's say, and up to here is, the same that was walked here. Let's just say that. If they each walk at the same speed, okay, that means this extra 5 minutes, she goes 1,750 feet. Which equation can be used to find their speed in feet per minute? I would say, okay. Here we go. So check this out. So S is the speed. So again, we know that distance equals rate times time. Rate is basically speed, which means speed times time equals distance. So we know that the speed times time, right? Speed times 25. Actually, it's this one. It's B. This is basically saying Melinda's distance, or sorry, what was it? Allison's distance, excuse me. This is saying Allison's distance, which is 25 times speed, taking away 1,750, meaning minusing this portion, would equal Melinda's distance. We already know that's true because Melinda's distance is 20 minutes times the same speed. So that is our equation. They're not even asking us to find it. We could, but that's not what they're asking. Next. A tree that was 3 feet tall when it was planted had increased in height by 200%. What's the height? It's very important. We don't take 200% necessarily of 3. Okay, think about it like this. If something increased by 50%, I'd take 50% of 3, and then I'd add it to 3. Same deal here. So we not only have to take 2%, so 200% as its decimal equivalent, move it once, twice, and it's 2. Multiply 2 times 3, right? 200% of, multiply 6. And then we have to add that back to the original height. 6 plus 3 is 9. So it's now 9 feet after the increase, not 6. That's the tricky part. Okay. The area of the hexagon is 84 inches squared. What is the area of the shaded region? So let me kind of explain how to do this one by marking it up. First, we need to figure out how many even spaces is that split up into, and that's the assumption all those spaces are even though they don't say that, but we need to assume that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it's 12 spots, right? And the shaded part is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 out of 12 is shaded, or 1/3, which means the shaded region is 1/3 of that total 84 inches squared. Divide both by 3, that's 1, and that is 28, right? We could, and then multiply, and it's 28 inches squared. Number 12, the mean of these guys' height is, the mean of their height is 5.6 feet. Here's how we're going to set up a mean problem. We have total over number of things equals mean. So the mean of those guys is 5.6. John is 5.8, Bob is 5.5, and Joe is 6.3. And Mike's, what is Mike's height? We don't know, it's X. And how do we calculate the mean? What's the number of people here? 4. Now we solve. First, I need to isolate X. First, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. These cancel out. I have to add these eventually, but 4 times 5.6 is 22.4, but I did that mentally, but you should write it out if you're not as confident with the mental math. Then it's 5.8 plus 5.5 is 11.3 plus 6.3 is 17.6 plus X. Now, how do we isolate X? We subtract 17.6 from both sides. X equals 14 is 8. 4. So Mike is 4.8 feet. Next, a sales representative earns a base salary for every 8-hour shift she works plus a 10% commission of the cost of the items she sells. The table below shows the sales representative's earnings for 8-hour shifts. Okay. What is the sales representative base salary for each 8-hour shift she works? Okay. So in this case, the commission, we only need one of these rows. The commission is 10% of the total items. Now, a trick to calculate 10% is you just take the number, move the decimal over once. So there she made $45 on top of whatever she made, and she made $125 total. So that means if I take away the 45 from this, right? It's $80, and that's how much her base is. And we could do the same thing with all of these. $80 plus 10% of that, which is 32. 80 plus 32 is 112. 80 plus 57 is 137, etc. Number 14. The figure shown is made of smaller cubes of equal size. Which of the answer choices can be attached to the figure to make it a cube? So right now it's 2 by 3. It's going to be this guy. And that's because, okay, look. We're taking a slice, basically a 3 by 3 slice, and sticking it on here, which makes it 3 by 3 by 3. Which makes it a perfect cube. Cube is just equal on every side. Next, Tatiana is traveling from 125th to Lincoln Center. She can take one of 4 subway trains, A, B, C, or D, from 125th to Columbus. She then can take 5, 7, or 104 to Lincoln. She has an equal chance of taking subway and equal chance of taking each bus. What is the probability that she will take D train, and bus 104? So that means it's a 1 out of 4 chance she'll take D train, 1 out of 3 chance she'll take the 104, right? And then to get the joint probability that she'll do this and this, we multiply the individual probabilities, 1/4 times 1/3, which equals 1/12. That's how we do joint probability. Next, Trey and Ruby each have 8 coins, all of which are nickels and dimes. Okay, so this is going to be a system of equations. We're going to start with nickels plus dimes equals 8. Trey has the same number of... they each have 8 coins, sorry. Trey has the same number of nickels as Ruby has dimes. So Trey's nickels equals Ruby's dimes, okay? which means Ruby's nickels must equal Trey's dimes, by the way. It has to go back and forth, right? Because they both add up to 8. And the same number of dimes, yeah, okay, well, they said that then. If Trey has 10 cents more than Ruby, Trey obviously has more dimes than nickels. How many nickels does Trey have? I'm going to assume, so Trey has more money. So I'm going to just let's throw out this assumption, 5 dimes and 3 nickels, which means 5 nickels and 3 dimes. Let's just play with these numbers. This is 15 plus 50 is 65. This is 30 plus 25 is 55. See, right off the bat, that was a good assumption. We went there. I could have used a system of equations. That's how I was starting, but didn't need to. So we already know that Trey has 3 nickels. Solved it. Next, little bit of guess and check. You could say educated guess and check. The mean of a set of 4 numbers is 13. Guess what? Let's set up the mean. The mean is 13, and 4 numbers, meaning we're adding them up, dividing by 4. So we already know that x equals to multiply by 4 both sides to isolate. I should have done dot. 4 times 13 is 52. So all of these numbers add up to 52. When a 5th number, I'm going to use x again. When a 5th number is added to the set, so we're adding another number, the mean increases to 14. And now what are we dividing by? Since we added a 5th number, we're dividing by 5. And now, look, that's what we're solving for is x. So let's do it. Isolate by multiplying both sides by 5. 52 plus x equals 5 times 14, which is 70. Subtract 52, subtract 52. X equals 18. Done. Next, cube A has side length of 3, cube B has side length of 5. What's the ratio of the volume? Okay, check it out. Cube A, I'll just draw a square. We don't need the full thing. Cube A is a side length of 3. Cube B is a side length of 5. What's the volume of cube A? It's side times side times side. 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So there's the ratio. And they're expressing it as a fraction. Same thing. Next. Okay, we're about halfway through, and 15 minutes has elapsed. Here we go. 20 minutes left. Nanette calls 4 people at 7 to let them know a play has been canceled. So Nanette, she calls 1, 2, 3, 4 people. So she's one person, 4. Then they call 4 different people, which is now 16. And then the pattern continues, etc. And then those 4 call 4 different people. So these guys call 64. Okay. And then whatever. So which expression represents how many people have been called at 11? So this is at 7. This is at kind of like 7. This is at 8. This is at 9, so on and so forth. But they don't even want us to calculate it. They just want us to show this in a pattern. Look, check it out. I already told you we're starting with, wait, hold on. Which expression represents the number of people who will know? Nanette is one of the people. The key here is we can eliminate A and C right off the bat because they don't include Nanette. They don't include that 1 at the beginning that represents the net. Now, this is a problem because it's not 4 to the 5th. You see, it's 1 plus 4 squared, which I wrote as 16. 4 cubed, 64. Immediately, we already know it's got to be D with this pattern. All right, next. For which function does y value decrease at the greatest rate as x increases? So y decreases as x increases. So as we're going to the right, y is decreasing. So it's going to be a steep negative slope is what we're looking for. And we're always thinking negative slope when one increases, the other decreases. So it's graph C. That's it. The only other one it could be is B, but it's not, but y is decreasing faster as y increases for this one because it's a steeper slope. Next. Tommy bought 4. Okay, now we're in the quantitative comparisons. These are always really good. So Tommy bought 4 movies for $16. So each movie costs $4, right? 4 for 16, 1 for 4. And 5 column A is clearly bigger. Okay, so immediately I see this. I'm going to solve for, oh no, I can't solve for y. I have to plug and chug. Value of x when y equals 27. 2x equals 20, divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 10. Right? So that's column A, the value of x. The value of y when x equals 2. Let's plug in 2 and solve for y. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 7 is 11. B wins, right? We're just looking for which column is bigger. That's all what these are about. Okay, hat contains piece of paper numbered 4 through 10. 4, 5. It helps, I think, to write it out. Probability of drawing an odd number. We've got 1, 2, 3. Probability of drawing a number greater than 7. Not including 7, greater than 7. 1, 2, 3, both the same. Both 3 out of 7, so the quantities are equal. Next. Okay, point X, Y, and Z are on the lines shown below. Hold on. I need to draw on this. So we know that the entire thing xz is, what is it, 56? If this is 56, this is 25, this must be 31, right? YZ has to be 31 because the two add up to 56. It's all in a straight line. So xy, so A is xy, which is 25. B is yz, which is 31. B wins. That's it. All right, rectangle. Guess what? We're talking about a rectangle. Let's draw it. 4 by 5. Rectangle B is half as long, that's length, and twice as wide, 10. Well, what's the area of these two? That's what they're comparing. Area of A, we multiply side, length times width, 20. Length times width, 20. They are the same length. Okay, the balance of bank account A is less than the balance of bank account B. The balance of bank account A after a 20% increase. Okay. We have no idea. Now look, here's the key with selecting D. You don't want to just be like, it's confusing, so it's going to be D. You want to be able to show that you can choose A and B, or A and C, or B and C, whatever. So here's why. Bank A is less than bank B. So I could say bank A is 80. I could say let's say bank A is 100. Bank B is 200. So a 20% increase, it becomes 120. A 20% decrease, it becomes 160. Okay, B is my winner here. But now I could choose 100 for A, and I could choose 110 for B. Okay. Now a 20% increase is 120. A 20% decrease is 22, 88. Now A is bigger. I can show that by choosing different numbers, I can find two different answers, right? Therefore, we don't have enough information. It cannot be determined. We can get more than one answer for A, B, and C, so it's D. All right, good old absolute value. Absolute value of 10. Absolute value is the positive purifier. Absolute value to 10 is just 10, so A is just 10. What about B? Absolute value of 10, again, is just 10, plus absolute value of negative 6. This stays 10. This becomes positive 6. Therefore, B is 16, and B is our winner. Number 28. Y equals 5x minus 3. Okay, when the value of y when x equals 3. 15 minus 3, 5 times 3 is 15, is 12 for A. For B, the value of x when y equals 42. Solve for x, we add 3, 5x equals 45, divide by 5, x equals 9. So A is our winner, right? A is bigger. All right, 8 minutes left. Next. Okay, these are very interesting. Look where the parentheses are. Negative 1/3 squared. The entire value is squared, therefore we get positive 1/9 for A. What about this? Just the 1/3 is squared. It is not including that negative, so it's 1/3 squared, which is 1/9, and then that negative just kind of stays there. That makes it negative, meaning A is bigger than B. They are not the same. A is bigger than B. Okay. The area of the shaded region, the area of the unshaded region. I mean, I'm pretty sure the the shaded is going to be bigger, but let's prove it. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Well, let's find out. Okay, so look at these circles. I see a circle with a radius of 3 here, and then I see a big circle with a radius of 5. So the area of the little guy is pi r squared, where r is 3, so pi times 3 squared, which is 9 pi. That's my little circle. Okay, I'll write that in here. Now, what about the big circle? The big circle is pi r squared, which is 5 is the radius. But we have to subtract this little guy, okay? So 25 pi minus 9 pi gives us the shaded region, which is 16 pi, okay? So this outside part is 16 pi. So which one's bigger? Shaded, which is A. Okay, slope of the line connecting these 2 points. All right, so here's how we calculate slope. Whoops, -1, 6. I always tell people stack the coordinates and subtract down. 6. That way you have no confusion. So we subtract down. So it's the y is on top, 6 minus 4, over the x is -1 minus 3, which is 2 over -4, or a slope of -1/2 for A. What about these guys? Subtract down -5 minus -8 over 3 minus 6. That becomes a plus. -5 plus 8 is 3. 3 minus 6 is -3, or a slope of -1. Which one's bigger? A. Negatives, it's reverse, right? 1/2 would be smaller than 1, but -1/2 is bigger than -1, so A is bigger. Hold on. Yeah, it's right. Okay, next. How many time? Okay, 10 minutes, and we got the last 6. These are usually harder. To estimate girls and boys in each grade, a small sample of each group was surveyed. The percent of each grade surveyed and the number of girls and boys from each sample are shown below. The result from the table can be used to estimate the number of boys and girls in each grade. Estimated total number of girls in grade 7. Okay. So 40% surveyed, meaning the 16 is also probably 40% of the total. So 16 out of the total number of girls is 40% over 100, right? So this is 4/10, right? We can solve by cross multiplying. 4x equals 160. X equals 40, which means, so the number of girls in grade 7 is probably a total of 40. Now, what about this? It's 18, but in this case, they're saying, oh, sorry, in grade 8. So then now they're saying 18 girls out of a total of what we don't know is 60% of 100, or 6 out of 10. Cross multiplied, that's 180 equals 6x, divide by 6 to isolate x. X equals 30. So B is 30, A is bigger. There's more girls in grade 7 than grade 8. Next. Radius of a circle with area 25. It's C, they're equal. Now, how would we figure this out? We don't know what the radius is. Let's call it actually just R. But we know that the area is 25 pi, and area equals pi r squared. They're saying the area is 25 pi equals pi r squared. So let's solve for r. We divide both sides by pi, cancel out. Therefore, r squared equals 25. How do we solve for r squared? We take the opposite of squaring, square root both sides. Square root of r squared is r, square root of 25 is 5. And there we go. They're equal. Okay, the side length of cube 1 is 9. Okay, here we go. Side length of cube 1 is 9. Side length of cube 2 is 3. The volume of cube 1, if the length of each side... Oh, it's going to get messy, though. The length of each side is decreased by 50%, meaning it's 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. The volume of cube 2, if the length of each side is increased by 50%. Oh, 50% increase, we just take half of 3 and add it on. Half of 3 is 1.5, so it's 4.5. 4.5, 4.5. We actually don't need to do the calculation. The side lengths are equivalent, therefore the volumes will be equivalent. Okay. Lines A and B are parallel to each other. The equation of line B is y equals 5x plus 5. This means that, guess what? For line B, my slope is 5 and my y-intercept is 5. But it doesn't matter. The main thing is two lines are parallel, their slopes are the same. So the slope of line A is also going to be 5, where we sometimes call slope m, right? So now we know that, and then there it is, the slope of line A. It's got to be equivalent, and it's 5. And column B is 7, therefore column B is bigger. The sections on the spinner are equally sized, and when spun, they're equally likely to land on any number. Probability of the spinner pointing to an unshaded section that contains a factor of 4. So unshaded, it's already done to these 4, that contains a factor of 4. Factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. Okay, that's it. So unshaded contains a factor of 4. We just got 2. 2 and 4. That's it. 6 and 8 are not factors. So column A is 2. I'll just say 2. It's 2 out of 8, but I'll just say there's 2 possible ways to land on it. Same thing, basically. Probability of the spinner pointing to a shaded section that contains a factor of 6. Factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So 1, 3, and that's it. So also 2. No 6, no 2, nothing. Shaded region. They're both 2 out of 8 or 1 out of 4. But the fact that there's 2 hits for each, that means they have to have the same probability. So that's C. Last but not least, the original price of a book was $10. Store A offers a 15% discount. Store B offers 10%. And then another 5% after the sale. Okay, so price of books in book A. So if we take 15% of 10, you could do 0.15 times 10, but really 10 times any number. Remember I told you just move the decimal over once? So 0.15 times 10 is just 1.5. We're saving 1.5, so the price in A is $8.50. What about B? Let's do it in 2 steps. First, we're applying the 10% discount. So 10% would be like 0.1 times 10, which ends up becoming, move the decimal over, 1. So now we're down to $9. Now we're taking 5% of the 9, okay? So again, we got to be really careful here. If we take 5%, it's not 0.5, it's 0.05. So that's 45, 0. And we have 2 numbers to the right of the decimal, so it goes 1, 2. Now we're dropping off another 45 cents. So it's $9 take away 45 cents. 8.55. Which one's more expensive? Store B, believe it or not. So it seems like they might be the same, but you got to be careful because that 5% is now acting on the sale price, which is lower. So that same percentage will take less money away. So the price of B is bigger. Okay. And we got 4 minutes to spare. Now, if you were taking this test for real and you had this time left, you would go back and check all your work and make sure you didn't make any mistakes. For me, I'm going to go ahead and end the section and we'll just see what happens, and hopefully I got everything right. If not, I will review anything that I got wrong right now. Boom. All right, so they're all correct, so you're good to go. I hope that was helpful, guys, in terms of prepping for the ISEE. Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is a brutal, brutal test for kids to take in 6th or 7th grade. It's a lot of complex math for that age, and a lot of preparation, a lot of work has to be done. So I encourage you to look at programs like ISEEPracticeTest.com. Look at my video course in the description link below as well. It's strictly for the math portion of the Middle Level ISEE, and it will give you a lot of good rigorous practice and great video explanations to get you on your way. But make sure to check back to these live streams so you can get up-to-date information on how to nail this test and get into the school that you really want. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like this video, please click that like button at the bottom. And if you want to see more from the Scale It Learning channel, make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all next time. Take it easy.